Welcome back. So in this video we're going to talk a little bit about the organizational feasibility analysis. And the organizational feasibility analysis is done to help you figure out whether you have the sufficient expertise to do whatever business you're proposing and whether you have the sufficient resources, or can you get those sufficient resources to actually pull it off. And that's a little bit different than financial resources, because that falls under the financial feasibility analysis. Okay? So the first part we're going to look at is management prowess. And there's two ways that you need to look at management prowess. Actually, there's a few ways to look at it. So first of all, do you or people on your team have the ability to do whatever it is you are proposing to do? Okay? Now let me give an example. And a lot of people make this mistake in pitches. Like, I've got this great idea for an app, but then I'll just hire a programmer to do it for me because I don't really know how to do computers. I hear that all the time. Obviously, they never watched that movie about Facebook. I mean, that's what that movie alleges, is that these two guys had a great idea. They hired Mark Zuckerberg, to do the program, and he took the idea and ran with it. That's really going to kill you in any sort of a pitch competition, because if they're going to invest in you, and quite frankly, bankers, if they're going to give you a loan, if they're going to invest in you, you need to be able to know how to do whatever it is that's related to your business. Okay? If you want to be a home builder, don't say I'm just going to have a bunch of contractors do all the work and I'm going to supervise. No, you need to at least know enough about the basic processes. You don't have to be an expert at it. You don't have to be as good as the contractors are, but you need to know enough to be dangerous, right? You've got to be able to show that. Okay? So you need to know how to do whatever it is you're doing, or somebody on your team needs to know how to do that. They're also going to be checking, for the management prowess. You need to have passion for what you're doing, okay? Being an entrepreneur, you're going to be staying up late, you're going to be suffering. There's all sorts of stuff like that that's not going to really be all that great. It's not all glamorous like what you see on TV. You need to have passion for your idea and for your business, because there's going to be a lot of obstacles thrown your way. I remember when I was a kid, one of my playmates, I was probably, 10, and his dad owned a Burger King franchise. And I said, "Whoa, that's so cool, you own a Burger King franchise. That means you can eat Whoppers all day." And he looked at me and he said, "No, it means that I know how to unclog a toilet with a bent coat hanger." Okay? So it's not all glorious owning a Burger King, because you've also got to do all that stuff that sometimes your employees are just not going to do, or they're not going to know how to do it. So you've got to be able to roll up your sleeves and jump right in there. Okay? And then the next thing that you want to look at in terms of management prowess is, it's not just a matter of the skill of the individual team members, it's also about the ability that you all have to work together. Okay? And let me give a sports analogy. When I was in high school, no, I must have been in college, there was the Summer Olympics, and basketball was one of the sports. And of course, we all thought the U.S. team would do so well, because we had great stars. I don't remember who they all were at this time. You have to remember, this was 15, 20 years ago. But anyhow, but there were some great basketball. U.S. has great basketball athletes, right? And so they were all on the team. They got beaten by this team, I think, from Serbia, right? Now, the individual Serbian athletes were not as good as our athletes, but the Serbian athletes knew how to play better together as a team than our athletes did, and they beat us quite handily. By the same token, it's not enough for you to say, "I've got this MBA from Harvard, this engineer from Stanford, and we've met at a cafe and we've got some synergy and we're ready to go." Because it doesn't, really smart people and really capable people and really motivated people may wind up fighting and driving each other apart, and then the whole thing is collapsed. It doesn't matter how good the idea is. But compare that to a pitch where you're saying, "You know what? I got my buddy Dave here. He's not the brightest, but he's dependable. I can count on him, and he's loyal. He will be with me through thick and thin, and I know how to use his capabilities. He knows what my capabilities are. We know how to work together. This is our 5th venture. I've known him since I was 7. We'll take a bullet for each other." That's the team I will take over the MBA from Stanford and Harvard and all this stuff, because they may not know everything, but I know that they can count on each other. Hey, you rock and roll that. So that's where we talk about the management prowess. And of course, you also need, in your feasibility analysis, to articulate the different roles of the members of your team. And of course, if you don't have certain capabilities, how are you planning on getting them? Maybe you don't have an accountant on your team, but you explain, well, there's a contractor that I can work with to do the account. Or maybe I don't have an accountant, but I use QuickBooks. Something like that. Or I don't have a marketing team, but we're going to do this one-time payment to this marketing group. You at least need to have a plan for filling in those gaps. Now the second is resource sufficiency. And a lot of people think we're talking about financial resources, but that goes under the financial feasibility component. And so under resource sufficiency, that's looking at whether the entrepreneur has sufficient resources to launch that venture. And you want to look at the 6 to 12 most critical non-financial resources that you need to make that business be effective. Now, let me give some examples. One resource might be affordable office space. Okay? Now, I live in Texas now. I mean, you can get affordable office space, affordable office buildings. There's no problem with that. Okay? Now, if you're in Los Angeles, like where I was before, getting affordable office space would be really, really hard. Okay, because the rents are so high. So if you need all of your people like working together in Los Angeles, you might be better off in Texas, for example. Okay, looking at lab space, manufacturing space, or space to launch a service-based business. Okay, you know, if you want to launch a manufacturing operation in the middle of downtown Los Angeles, I don't know that there's any factories in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. In fact, where I am now in Texas, I don't know of any factories in the immediate vicinity. So you might need, you know, to either reconsider the business model or consider moving your business to where you can get manufacturing. Of course, you can also outsource with China and India and other places, but you need to be careful with that too. Okay. Same thing with lab space. You know, if you're trying to do something in pharmaceuticals or biotech, not only do you need adequate lab space, but you also need access to the brain power that goes with that, you know, scientists, engineers, and all that kind of stuff. And if they're not in your particular geographical area, or you can't get them to move to where you are, then you're going to have a little bit of a failure in terms of resource efficiency. Can you get the right talent? If you need computer programmers, are they available? If you need accountants, is this an area where not only can you get them, but can you afford them? Okay. What about the laws in the particular state? Can you get intellectual property protection, copyrights, patents, etc.? Can you get them in your particular state or region? Is that something that's easy to do or hard to do? Okay. And are you able to get partnerships with key stakeholders? You know, I know where I am in Texas right now, we have a great partnership with our Chamber of Commerce. They're very involved in promoting businesses. But if you're in a large city like maybe New York City, you may have a little bit harder time getting that support from your local Chamber of Commerce. Okay? So that's what we mean by resource efficiency. In our next video, we're going to talk about financial feasibility analysis. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, give me a thumbs up, that's a like. Hit that subscribe button down below, and definitely make some comments. If you have any questions as well, put them in the comments down below. I'll see you in the next video.